Hi guys, and welcome back to Crafty Quilting Designs. I hope you're well. Okay guys, so this week we're moving on to the Ohio Star, and you can see it here. But before we get into this video, don't forget to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell. Alright, so those of you who are new here, welcome to the channel, and for those of you who've come back, so happy to have you. And if you're taking part in this particular sew along, I am so happy. And guys, don't be afraid to go for it. Really try your best. I think with this building blocks is really just to really get your confidence up. Okay, don't pay so much emphasis on getting it perfect. You know, quilting is never perfect. There's always going to be errors, there's always going to be a mistake, and that's just, you know, the ethos of it. That's just it. So don't stress yourself out and getting it perfect. All right, there's some blocks that you will make quite easily, and some blocks you got to make again so that you get the knack of it. And certainly with making stars, they are definitely tricky. There are times when you'll make it and it's like boom, it comes up really nicely, and there are times when you get a little bit of shick-shack. All right, so don't worry about it. Practice makes perfect. Always remember that. And it's only fabric. That's all it is, just fabric. Okay, my attitude is, I make a mistake, is either I'll choose to keep it there or I'll fix it. So, and that's really is the decision you have to make. So don't beat yourself up about it. All right, so we're making 4 as normal. Again, we're going to start with just the plain block in the middle and then the patchwork, and the patchwork remains the same throughout. So realistically, you are making these stars, but you're just changing small features in the middle. All right, so once again, enjoy, have fun making this, and if you enjoyed this tutorial, please don't hesitate, if you're new, to subscribe. And guys, please also don't forget to watch the ads throughout the tutorial, so this will enable me to be able to make more videos like this in the future. Okay, so bye for now and happy quilting. Okay guys, so today we're going to make the Ohio Star, and we're going to make in 4 of those, and then as usual we're going to have variations in them. Okay, in the middle. Now I'm going to point out the sizes as well as the blocks, and again all the details will be in the description box down below with a link for you to go to the blog and get all the sizes. Now you need a 5 1/4 inch square, and these are for your star legs. Okay, so star legs, 1 5 1/4 inch square, irregardless of whatever color you're chosen, but again try to make your colors contrast. You're going to need 2 5 1/4 inch square for your star legs also, and 1 background fabric of your 5 1/4 inch square. And to make these, we are simply going to cut them into quarter square triangles, so nice big X in the middle, so we have quarters all the way through. Okay, you also need a color for your center block. Now I refer to this as the accent color that you're going to use, because you're going to use this for each of your star legs. This is your center block, and this is 4 1/2, and as usual you need your 4 1/2 background fabric for the corners of your squares. All right, so the sizes will remain the same throughout. The only thing that's going to change is your center block. All right, so in this case we're using the plain center block as we've always done. So what I'm going to do is just give myself a little bit of room here, and I think one of the easiest ways to compile this is to do it in chain pieces. So I am going to cut all 3 of the 5 1/4 inch square. So these are your star legs, so 1 2, and of course my background fabric and 2 fabrics again for your 1/4 inch, 5 1/4 inch for your star legs. All right, so again cutting from point to point, just into 4, and we're going to lay it out. Just make sure it's all smooshed together nicely, because I interrupted it there. I actually cut them all together, so I think I'll separate it since they moved and get the point proper. So again, try not to move the board, but just move your body and the ruler and just line it up. Okay, so that's that one done, and the next set now Now if you've got fabric that has sort of the directions on it, just try and cut them the same way. Mine's batiks, so in that case the way it's layered, it looks slightly different as though the fabric is printed in rows, but I just have to be mindful of that and cut it in that direction so that they're all cut the same way, hence the reason why I'm cutting them at the same time. Alright, so that's done, and I'm going to do the same now for my accent fabric, which is this one here. And again, this is also the star leg. So remember, we're making Ohio and Ohio star, and Ohio star is literally a star that has the 4 same type of pattern at the same end, just like an hourglass basically. So that is what we're aiming at, hence the reason we only need one of this accent fabric here. Right, so that's that, and that's all the cutting basically that you need. So you will need this for each. I don't want to pull it apart, I sort of prefer to cut it so that it's nice and sharp at that point there. That's important. All right, so let's lay it all out now. I'm just going to put that to the side for a minute and get these all done. Now I like to stack it up together so that I know what's what. Okay, so remember, just as we've done before in the past, the outside block, I'm going to move this down a little bit, the outside block or the background fabric is going to go at the top, always at the end, so just to ensure that we know what we're doing with it. Okay, so it always stays there. The other one goes there. So again, this is the 2 of your star legs, and the accent color, we're going to put it there. All right, so accent color goes next to this, and we're going to do the same. And again, if it helps to keep it nice and clear in your head, by all means add on your 4.5 inch squares. Remember, all of the sizes will eventually come down to 4.5. That is what your center is also. All right, and again you do the same. So again, you can always put the accent fabric there at the end. Use whatever technique to help you put it together nicely and quick. So you have your on point star there, or your diamond, and you have your square in the middle. And again, you do the same with this one, so you can put that opposite there, opposite there. So you can see why you actually need just one of the 5.25 inch square, because these quarter square triangles is going to be used as the end. And again, you're going to add in the rest of the star legs in there, like so. And sewing this together is quite easy, just like we've done before. Now I hope you're realizing that a lot of this is really repetitive skills you're making here. You're just really doing the same thing over and over, especially when you make the 4 blocks, so that you are building your skills quite easily. And that is simply your Ohio star there. Very, very easy to put together. The cutting is quite simplified also. So I don't really want you to get yourself flustered about it. It's really an easy project to do. Now, if you, as I mentioned before, if you have, you know, fabrics that has different colors and different cuts because of the lines or movement on the fabric, then you can line them up as such. But I will say, to eliminate that movement later, just make sure when you put the fabric out, it's going in the same direction. So I'm referring to this fabric here, which is the 5.25 inch 2 that you need to make your 4 stars. All right, so that is it. So let's talk about sewing it together. And the reason why I said to do it as that stitching whereby you chain stitch is a lot more easily to put it together. So the best thing to do will be to flip this over. So you sew your background and one of your star legs, and then you sew one of your star legs and your accent fabric together. okay? And the same applies, and you just continue to actually sew it together. Once you've done that, you know the usual, then you start building the block, because you will make these individual star legs here together first. So let me get started on that. So I'll do this one here, and then you'll see exactly how it comes together. So I'm going to get sewing now. And remember, you are sewing on the shorter side. Remember, every time it's the shorter side. And notice how I put it back into the direction, right? So the shorter side, I'm going to open it back out so that you understand, okay? It's the shorter side. So these shorter sides here is what you're going to be sewing. So line it all up, 1/4 inch seam as normal, and just get sewing. Alright guys, so this is what I want you to do now. So when you're ready, just make sure you put it back in its rightful position. So what I'm literally doing is angling and keeping in my memory that this accent color must touch the background, or the center block here, sorry. Okay, same thing again, accent color is against the center block. And of course, when it comes to the top of my, let me just iron this, I've left a crease there, so be careful of that. Let me just show this to you. So you see in there, there's a little crease there, so just make sure that you press that open properly. Right, and again, ensure that the background fabric goes on the top, like so. And if you stitched it together, let me just point that out here, as it just happened to me there. If you stitch it together inaccurately, you will see that it doesn't fit with this one. Yeah, you'll actually see that the block will tell you that is not correct. All right, so then obviously this one goes with this one there, because the black must be extended outside, and the same applies to this one. So all I'm going to do now is to simply sew this together now, as we've done in the past, and then complete the entire block. All right, so what I'm going to do, put these front sides together, and what I did was press the background fabric towards the star. All right, and then what I'm going to do now is just sew these together. Okay, and then your star legs will be completed. So let's get started on that. Okay guys, so blocks are made now, well, at least the star legs. And so what I'm going to do now is just simply trim it up. So as usual, I like to line it up with the edge and just simply take off the dog ears, is what I'm referring to when I say trim up. Just making it nice and tidy. You can of course use a scissors, and I say this every week, so but I like using what I like to use, so that way it just keeps me, I like doing the same things, especially when it comes to quilting. I know what works for me, and so I think if that it works, I'm going to stay with that. I'm not one to try something out differently, you know, unless I'm having some problems with something. But if I get a method and it works for me, that is what I'm going to stick with. So that is why I like using my blade to simply cut off my little dog ears there. I just think it gives it a nice clean cut, and again, you can use your scissors. Alrighty then, so this is the last one here, and I'm just going to lay it all back out again, and you are simply just going to put it together like an end patch. Okay, so all my points are nicely in the middle. Okay, so again, what I like to do is just to get my brain intact really, and so that I remain on track for setting up the block. So it eliminates the method of confusion, and everything is organized in my brain. So I'd like to lay it all out. I would never just take it as it is and just start sewing together, because I think that is going to confuse the hell out of you. So I would lay it all out again in the middle, add my edges to the corner there, and my background fabric there, and I call them edges, but yes, they're the ends, so the corner there. And then I will simply start putting this together, knowing that the black goes on top. So there you go, I've got it right. Okay, that's simply it. So every time it's there for me. Oh, I missed one. This one I'm going to do without applying the ruler. I thought it finished quickly. I was like, yeah, I thought there was one more, but never mind. Goes to show I was not concentrating on it. And the last one goes there. Okay, and what should happen now is that all of your sizes should be the same, so that you can sew it together. So check it, make sure you're happy with it before you actually move on. Okay, now I see something that I want to change. So for example, my lines here are running towards the middle. Alright guys, my camera died, so I just wanted to go over what I said very briefly. So what I was about to say is that just to make sure that the lines here on your fabric are going the same way, so it just doesn't look twisted. Alright, because I did notice that one of mine was opposite. So for example, these two was like that, so I had horizontal and vertical going in different directions. So just make sure that if you have something like that, that you spot those things, because those are the things that shows up. Alright, especially when the fabric is that bright, you can actually see. So you can see that the lines are going this way all together, so that it shows up that on point of that square for that accent fabric really well. Okay, so I'm going to pack this aside now, and I'll sew it together, and as usual I'll show you all four at the end. So now we're going to do another one. So we're going to do the other with the other star with the 4 patch in the middle. You just need your 2.5 inch squares as normal, and you are going to sew that together as you have done. So I'm just going to put lay it all out here so that you can see it. And again, I'm just checking that my prints on the fabric is laying up the right way, so that it just doesn't look odd. So again, sew that together to make your 4 patch, so 2.5 inch squares each. And then what I actually did for these is just use scraps rather than go and cut a 2.5 inch long strip just to get these quantities. So I just used scraps, and then I did it in that way. All right, so I'm going to again add in my corner squares there, because that helps me keep on track, so that I know exactly what I'm doing there. And these two there as well. And again, I have my star legs here as well. So my 8 star legs. So the reason why I have 8 star legs, because this is my accent fabric here. Sorry, this is not my accent fabric. This is my two piece of star legs. Okay, so my 5 1/4 inch square. Okay, I'm sorry if I just made that confusing, so I'll repeat that. So I have 8 quarter triangles here, and this is from my 5 1/4 inch square. So this is for my star legs. Okay, this is my accent fabric, and this is again 5 1/4 inch square, and again this is my background fabric, which is 5 1/4 inch square. So basically you need 4 5 1/4 inch square, one of background, one of accent, 2 of the same type, and they all cut into triangles or square triangles. So I'm just going to do that now, line it all up together, and then just cut. Just line that up. Okay, I need to trim off a little bit on this one here because it was a bigger piece of fabric. And to be honest, guys, I use little bit of scraps for the background fabric that I had already cut. All right, so don't go cutting simply just to get one square. If you can use scraps from it, by all means do that. Okay, so it's going to do the same thing again. Cut it into quarter square triangles, and again point to point. Okay. Now that's that. So remember, the same layout applies. Okay, always start with the background fabric there. Okay, and again your other piece goes there, and this one goes there. Remember, this is your 8, and of course this one goes right in there. So I'm going to try and smoosh it up, or in this case make room. So I would definitely say lay all the blocks out. Yeah, lay them out before you stitch them together. That way you wouldn't get confused. There's no confusion to be had then. All right, so even if you want to do these two together, and in that way you just put them back to back, so you know this is your accent and that should be touching your middle squares. All right, so just put them there just one time, just like we did with the first one. Just put it there immediately. Okay, and then you add your background, and then obviously it becomes real easy now, because then you know, well, I've got these that's left behind, so obviously they are going to just fit in there now. And that is simply it to make up this other variation, which is your 4-patch variation of your Ohio star. Okay, the idea here is just to get you knowing how to make these stars independently without much thought. Then they comes quite normal to you. You know exactly what you're doing, you know. And you know, if someone were to ask you, know, to make an Ohio star, of course. So again, these come up at the same size, 12.5 inch square. All right, and finish. So that is it. Okay, so I just need you to really concentrate on these things, so just pay attention. Now the same thing applies for the other one. All right, so I'm just going to sew this together. I'm going to come back and I'll show you exactly how to lay the other 2 out. So we got 4 in total, all right, of our Ohio star variations. So let's get started on that one. Okay guys, so next we are going to make the hourglass Ohio star, and again we're just changing the center of the block. So again, let's start out with the 4 on the end so that it's easier to remember. Okay, so I'm going to point out now, so these are my background fabric with my accent color for my legs. All right, so remember, with the accent color, what that usually goes there in the middle, and the background fabric at the top. Again, we're turning this one background fabric to the top. Same thing applies here to the side, and background fabric to the top. Let's make some room here, and the last one the very same thing there. Okay, right, so the next thing we need to do now is to put in our accent colors, or our center block now. So I have this color here, and I'm going to add those two opposite each other. And again, it's quarter square triangles. As you can see, all of the star legs is made up of quarter square triangles for the whole Ohio star. All right, so just keep it simple. Now what I have done for the Ohio star is to take 5 1/4 square and cut it in half. Okay, so I have 2 different ones there. All right, obviously you'll be left with another 2. Okay, so if you wanted to make 2 of this, that's fine too. All right, but you can save it as scraps, and I'm sure it's going to come in handy at some point. Okay, so that is your hourglass there. And then remember, we need 8 points, and again, this is 2 of the 5 1/4 inch square to make up the balance of our star legs, and it fits in like so. So again, you need to just look for colors that's really striking and contrasting. Don't put too much effort into it, in the sense of overthinking it, yeah, because if you're using a fat quarter bundle, all of the fabrics coordinate already. That's the process of buying the fat quarter bundle, is because all of the imagination of putting the fabrics together in the color pattern has been done for you, so it's easier. So regardless of what fabric you use anywhere, it is still going to show up, it's still going to look beautiful, because it's already been coordinated and contrasted for you. All right, so that is the 3rd Ohio star block, and this one is the hourglass. All right, so I'm going to sew it together just as I've done before with the others, and all again the sizes are consistent with the previous blocks. All right, so let me do the other one now, the last one, and then that will be it completed, and I'll show you all 4 of them together. So let's move on to the next one now. Okay, so now we're on to the last star. Okay, and the last star is what I usually do in the previous blocks. The last star is the diamond in a square, or the square and point block. Okay, and we're going to start with the center square, which is 3 7/8. You need 2 squares cut under diagonal, so to make 4 small triangles, and this is 2 7/8. I'm just trying to get it apart. Okay, so with this you will then need to sew on like so, so you get that square on point. All right, and the next is to add on your, I'm gonna put that one up there. I think I may need to squash it down just to make it, this is going to get big very quickly, so I'm going to move it down a little bit just so that I have a little bit more room on this mat. All right, so again, so let me finish off with this one. So again, you are putting your black fabric at the end and just turn it around there. So hopefully I've given myself a little bit more space. If anything, I will squash the board down. This one will extend a little bit more because of the fact that I haven't sewn it together. And again, your accent, which is your 5 1/4 square, and again I'm going to put that this way. So what I should do really is turn this, because that is the way it's going to sit once I actually sew it together. So that's the way it's going to sit there, so it's going to be on point. So hopefully you get that. All right, so again, And I want you to take note that with the accent color, I have opted to use very similar colors so that this middle diamond on point here stands out. All right, and again, you need your 8, 5 1/4, and these are your star legs, star points, whatever your outlook is. And again, we need 2 on each end. Right, so as you can see, the block comes together very nicely, very quickly. Bring that in. And on the other side, so do the same thing as I have done here to lay the block out. And the more you do it like this, by the time you get to the 4th one, really you're doing it with your eyes closed, because you've gotten so used to the rhythm of making the blocks. It's quite easy, same sizes throughout, so nothing really is changed much. All right, and then your 4.5-inch squares to finish up the block, and obviously everything looks at different sizes because it's not stitched together. So that is it. Okay, so this is your Ohio star with your diamond on point or square on point, regardless of your outlook. So I'm going to sew this one together, and then I'll show you all 4. Now, just to recap, because it's the last one, remember when you sew, you always sew the short side and sew with the black on top every time, the black on top. So that's what I do. I fold it this way so the black goes on top every time, so I know when I open it back out, this will fit there. If you were to sew it the other way around, or if you were to sew it like this, sometimes it gets a bit confusing, which has happened to me. So again, just sew with the black on top. All right, and then that way you can get it out quite easily, and obviously then these two come together. All right, so remember you're sewing the shorter side. And with this one, obviously you are going to lay it like so and sew across. So quite simplistic. Just remember to iron as you go, a warm iron, not a hot, no steam. It actually helps to get the points intact, just no steam, otherwise it really distorts the fabric. So I'm going to stitch this together now, and then I'll come back and show you all 4 together. So have a look at it again, see what the layout looks like. That's very important that you actually remember that. Okay, so I would advise to watch the video first before you start, so you know exactly what you're doing. All right, and I am going to take pictures of this so that you can see what the layout looks like for each star before you start sewing, so there is a memory. And obviously this the same name I identify them here as is what I'm going to identify them when I give you the direction. So for example, your accent fabric, your square, center square fabric, etc. All right, so those words I'm going to use. All right, so I'm going to sew this together and show you all 4. Okay guys, so all of the blocks have now been completed, and as usual I'm going to go through with you. So this is the Ohio star. This is the original one with just the fabric in the middle, that square in the middle, okay, with no sort of patchwork. The second one is the 4 patch, as you can see that there. The third one is the hourglass, and the 4th one is the diamond. Okay, so get all the blocks ready. Any questions, please don't hesitate to give me a shout and let me know exactly what's going on. I have no issues in answering your questions. So if you enjoyed this tutorial, don't forget to like and subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I shall see you in the next one. Have fun.